Welcome to day 59 of the Gospel of John Book Club. And in today's reading, get out the way and let Jesus show you how to fish.
So we are reading John chapter 21, verses 1 to 14.
All right.
14?
14.
Later, Jesus appeared again to the disciples beside the Sea of Galilee. This is how it happened. Several of the disciples were there. Simon Peter, Thomas, nicknamed the twin, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and two other disciples. Simon Peter said, "I'm going fishing." "We'll come too," they all said. So they went out in the boat, but they caught nothing all night. At dawn, Jesus was standing on the beach, but the disciples couldn't see who he was. He called out, "Fellas, have you caught any fish?" "No," they replied. Then he said, "Throw out your net on the right-hand side of the boat and you'll get some." So they did, and they couldn't haul in the net because there were so many fish in it. Then the disciple Jesus loved said to Peter, "It's the Lord!" When Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on his tunic, for he had stripped for work, jumped into the water, and headed to the shore. The others stayed in the boat and pulled the loaded net to the shore, for they were only about 100 yards from shore. When they got there, they found breakfast waiting for them, fish cooking over a charcoal fire, and some bread. "Bring some of the fish you've just caught," Jesus said. So Simon Peter went aboard and dragged the net to the shore. There were about 153 large fish, and yet the net hadn't torn. "Now come and have some breakfast," Jesus said. None of the disciples dared to ask, "Who are you?" They knew it was the Lord. Then Jesus served them the bread and the fish. This was the third time Jesus had appeared to the disciples since he had been raised from the dead.
Yeah. Oh, man. This is such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful moment.
Yes.
Because Jesus' earthly journey with the disciples began with fishing. And then we're at the very end.
Yeah.
And he goes right back to, it's like Jesus is like, okay, he's resurrected. He's appeared a couple times to them, but they don't know nothing else. So they're like, I guess we go back fishing.
Let's just go do it.
Because they had left their fishing post to basically follow Jesus for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
They're like, I guess we should go back fishing now.
Let's go.
And, but it's so symbolic of what his mission for us is. And we talked about yesterday how Jesus blessed them and says, okay, now I'm sending you again. And he sends us with his peace, but he makes it really super clear.
Yeah.
This mission is all about fishing, right? And in the very beginning, he said, I'm going to teach you how to fish for people. And so he brings it back to the fishing. And so I love that they have this encounter around the ministry of fishing. This is so beautiful. I think the other thing that's beautiful too is that, this is Peter's time of restoration.
Clearly, he
Jesus.
jumped out of that
He's
boat.
like,
He didn't even wait for them to come to shore. He was just like, Jesus! He's just going. But
he has to be a little embarrassed.
There's some guilt there.
Some shame.
There's some shame. And I imagine this is gonna carry into his ministry very far, as to never having, not having this moment again where he doubts or where he gives up. You know what I'm saying? Where he
Walks
denies
away.
Jesus,
Yeah.
he walks away. And I think when Jesus has brought you a long way and you've done something that you just feel like you have utter forgiveness for, you have nothing but to, I'm gonna give you my everything.
Yeah.
And I see this passion and this zeal that Peter always had, but now it's turned for Jesus. You know, it's like, I'm gonna use who I am and turn it for Christ and this passion for what Jesus is called to do. And it looks like he's leading the charge here.
Yeah.
Like,
and here's another little cool tidbit is how John recognized Jesus through the miracle that he did. This wasn't the first time that this particular miracle happened.
Yeah.
There's a similar miracle, not exactly, but a very, very similar parallel miracle that happened. It doesn't get written about in John's account of Jesus's life, but in Luke. So if you want to go into your Bible to Luke chapter 5, verses 1 through 11, you see a similar account where they, were trying to catch some fish. There's a different little interaction and dialogue with Jesus about fishing.
Yeah.
And Jesus is like, whatever, I'm Jesus. Do what I say. And I think that's the beautiful thing too, is that if all we need is just for Jesus to give us the word.
Yeah.
If Jesus gives us the word, let's say you obey Jesus, like whatever he wants to happen is going to happen.
Yeah.
His ways are better than ours. And these are fishermen. These are trained fishermen. Fishing was their life, essentially.
Yeah.
They left their father's fishing business to go and follow Jesus. So 3 years later, they're going back to fishing, and they're out there all night long catching nothing. And Jesus shows up and is like, any luck there, guys? No? Hey, why don't you try what I'm about to tell you?
Yeah.
And they obey and they follow his word, and they're able to now just catch way more fish than they ever imagined they would catch. And I think Jesus is also telling us something.
Which is what?
What would you say is in terms of fishing?
I mean, I don't know. It just seems as if, for me, when you're talking about Luke, I remember in the beginning of that story, when he told them that, they were like, we've been out there all night. And it was just like, whatever. And at this time around, they just did it. They did exactly what they told them to do. And they caught the fish. So I imagine for me, it's like, just do what God tells you to do. And that's been Jesus's message this entire time. You'll be all right. Just I'm doing the will of the one who sent me, and those who love me will obey me.
Yeah.
And so now we see them here. It's like, okay, we're gonna try it this way. And I imagine that'll be the same if we're called to be Jesus' disciples. If we just do what he tells us to do, and going out into sharing the message of the gospel with people, then he will use us essentially to draw people unto himself.
A lot of people.
A lot.
I
think it was like 150.
Just put your net where he tells you to put it.
Just do what he tells you to do.
Like go where he's sending
like,
you.
Mary, just do what he tells you to do.
Yeah.
That's been like a common theme in this.
Oh, I love that you can take it back to Mary. Yeah, that's because that was his first miracle.
Do what he tells you to do.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
Okay, it's like, all right.
And so I think it's as simple as that. And sometimes we make it way more complicated than it has to be.
It's not.
We over churchify and over spiritualize everything. And I think, a lot of the traditions are great. However, sometimes we get so caught up with the tradition that we miss the mission, right? The tradition starts to trump the mission. And Jesus is more about mission.
Yeah.
And if we are his followers, it behooves us. It's really a serious thing that we be about his mission, that it's about fishing. I love what we used to call it when we first started the initial
the great
meetings,
big fishing trip.
The great big fishing trip. Like, we are on a great big fishing trip.
Yeah.
And everybody who chooses to follow Jesus just kind of joins us. And the fishing trip just keeps getting bigger. And then we keep going fishing for more people.
That is so awesome.
And Jesus is just like, okay, no, you put your net over here, you put your net over here. So wherever Jesus sends you, just be in tune with him, listen to him, spend time in his word, and, spend time in prayer. I believe that he's going to guide you through his spirit, where to put your net and where to start looking to, invite people into this relationship with them, AKA fish.
That's awesome. There's one more question that I have for you. Well, I guess this is my first question, but I want to know. It said that Jesus appeared to them. This is the third time that he's appearing to them. Why is he after he's resurrected? Why is he continuing to appear to them in this way? Is it just to show them that he really is here and with them and he hasn't died? Is it like, what is the purpose of him continuing to show up to them?
Well, yeah, I mean, essentially his time wasn't finished. There was still
some work.
The mission was completed, but there was still work to be done. And we're going to see tomorrow one of the final things that had to be done, which was the restoration of Peter.
Okay.
Right? And so, I think this moment, this fishing encounter, so yesterday there was the encounter for Thomas. Thomas needed that particular encounter. The day before that, all of the other disciples had, or maybe it was the same day yesterday, I can't remember the timing of the days, but he first appeared to all the other disciples except for Thomas. Then he appeared the second time when Thomas was there. Yeah. Then this third time, it's like, okay, there's an encounter, where Peter's heart is moved because we see he jumps out of this boat and then
So
Jesus
he's
cooks
bringing-
breakfast for them. So they share a meal this time, and I think that's an amazing. He's serving them once again.
So he's bringing healing essentially to their hearts in these different ways.
Yeah.
And I'm imagining there's a significance to this healing in order to walk in the fullness of what God needs you to do, or what Jesus is preparing them to do, where there's some restoration here. And I imagine
And blessing.
and blessing. And I imagine if Judas had kept with it and didn't allow his guilt or whatever it is to completely separate him from them, and then that Judas would have been part of this.
He'd been right there with Peter.
He'd been right there with Peter.
Yeah, so we're gonna see what happens with Peter tomorrow.
Yes, this is,
All
this
right.
is beautiful that Jesus is coming to each of them and saying, all right, let's deal with this, but something is brewing. Like, what is he doing here?
Yeah, awesome. Last day coming up.